Welcome to the most requested car in Forza Horizon 5, because for 20 points in winter of Series 38 you can go ahead and grab yourself the Toyota Chaser GT Twin Turbo from 1991. Disclaimer, most heavily requested car after the Nissan Suru. So this thing makes a whopping 276 brake horsepower, 267 foot-pounds of torque, while weighing just a shade over 3,390 pounds. And to be honest, it does look pretty stylish indeed. In reference to the JZX platform, I believe this is the JZX80, but if that's wrong, I'm going to get absolutely tortured in the comments section. It was pretty much the height of Japanese luxury cars during the early 1990s, so let's take a look inside. We've got a nice functioning clock on the dashboard, we've got a lot of digital dials, and apparently they decided to go with the automatic version of this car instead of the manual for this game, which is an interesting choice. We've got a lot of buttons and gizmos over there, and a very clear hazard warning light. And now let's go ahead and take a listen to this absolutely fantastic thing. So here we are now over in the upgrade shop. The first thing you're doing is jumping straight over to conversion and then going straight to engine swap. There's a couple other things, but we'll come back to those in just a bit. In terms of engine swaps, we've got a 4-litre V8, we've got a 1.6-litre inline-4 turbo rally, we of course have ourselves a 5-litre V10, a racing 3-litre inline-6 turbo, also known as the 2JZ, and also a racing V12. Because why not? If you want, we can also go ahead and change this from a twin turbo to a single turbo. I don't know why, but apparently it increases the horsepower figures, so maybe that might be a good thing to do. We can also go ahead and make this thing all-wheel drive, which we'll do a little bit later on, but in the meantime, there's this interesting button labelled body kit. So if we go and take a look and then go to the body kit, it is a very interesting wide body kit for this thing indeed, with essentially just a coffee table, like an upside down coffee table for a rear diffuser, which is absolutely mental. In terms of aero and appearance, going to the front bumper, we of course sadly just have a Forza aero, which is honestly quite a bit of a letdown as this is a massively requested car. And for the back, we of course have the regular old Forza wing and also the option to take off the stock rear wing entirely. I'm also wondering how many people are actually going to do that. In the meantime, our wonderful mechanic Mac is back once again with a brand new A-Class road racing team for us, so let's go ahead and pull up the share code right there, and let's go ahead, download it, and give it a go. So with these parts installed, we're now at £2,647 and over 390 brake horsepower at the top of A-Class. Let's go ahead, install it, and give it a go. So going over to the paint shop now, we've got the tune applied. We've got 2 paint groups in advanced, which is very, very interesting. We have got the main body of the car and then going to paint group number 2. I believe that is just a little bit down here. So it's essentially just a 2-tone paint, which is very, very interesting indeed. As to manufacturer colours, we only have 3. We've got a black, a white, and a very nice looking silver, to be honest. I actually kind of do like that a lot. So here is the JZX80 in its full race built form, ready to take on our wonderful little test track. Now, as much as I would love to see one of these cars in person, I've honestly not seen one in the UK. I know there's a lot of the JZX 100s and the Grand Tourer Sport V, or whatever they call them these days, but I've not seen many of this particular Chaser, so if you happen to have one, let me know, I'd like to see it. And away we go, we're up against a whole bunch of other various assorted vehicles. We've got a BMW there, Audi ahead of us, and I think another, Mercedes there too, that's cool. We've got to try and see if we can get this thing out on top. Now I've been told this thing is pretty decent, but it would be even more decent if the Audi moved out of our way, which thankfully it has done. The only thing that hasn't moved is my inability to speak. Now I ended up trying to look up some facts about this thing, and I really couldn't find much aside from the fact that this is the 4th generation of the Toyota Chaser, which was built between 1988 to 1992. And apparently there's also a massive lack of brakes. Now I'm aware that quite a fair few of these are built alongside the Cresta and the Mark II, which were essentially just like Toyota's sedan triplets, or triplet sedans, I think they were actually called by Toyota. But, well, as far as like how many exactly of these were built, I'm really not sure. As is trying to find a price for these things, because I've only found one in the UK market for sale, and that was at £19,000. In case you're curious, that's this in American dollars. Which one of these is honestly quite pricey, but if you go on Facebook Marketplace, you'll probably find, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 of these for probably under the $5,000 budget, which is absolutely insane. Now, in the end, the Toyota Chaser lineup did eventually finish with the 6th generation, I believe in 2001, where it gave way to the Toyota Verossa, also known as, I think, the JZX 110. Not too sure on that one. Also, ignore the wall, I did not hit that and nothing happened. Anyway, 95%, one more turn to go, which is just here and up to the line and across we go with the Toyota Chaser in Horizon 5, a sentence I never thought I'd say, first place in a time of 2 minutes 11. So here we're now back at the upgrade shop after a very interesting race. Now I want to know, what does this thing sound like with some different exhaust types? Is it any good? We've got straight exhaust, it sounds a bit like this. Not bad. We've also got the sport exhaust, which makes it sound like this. Sounds a bit like the Supra, which is very interesting because I think this came packed with a 1JZ GTE engine. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a listen to the race exhaust. Not bad at all. Okay, right. In the meantime, we also have another tune waiting for us by our wonderful mechanic. So let's go ahead and try and see if we can find that. Here it is. It is wheel cool. I should have included that sound effect. Anyway, here is the share code. We'll go ahead and bring it up here. Feel free to grab that share code and download this tune for yourself, like we're about to do about now. Yeah, that makes sense. So with these upgrades installed, we're now at just a shade under £2,780 with 1,191 brake horsepower. This thing's going to be insane. Okay, so here we are now with the drag tune installed. Let's go ahead and see, do we get a wheelie check out of this thing? Oh my god, we do. I wasn't expecting that. I guess the answer to the wheelie check is a definite yes. In the meantime, here and now over at the edge of the drag strip, it's very, very busy here today. Let's get ourselves on launch control and away we go with the Toyota Chaser. This thing is insane already, I love it. Bear in mind, it's still over 1,191 brake horsepower, which is nuts, and 189 through the camera off the end of the runway at 210, and absolutely no brakes. Now, I was also messaged by Mechanic Mac to go ahead and try this thing in reverse gear. So that's what we're going to go and do. We've just got onto the drag strip. This thing is doing 140, 150. I'm sorry, what? This thing just did nearly 160 in reverse, and there was room for more. This thing is nuts. Well, if you needed another reason to get the tune, I guess there you go. In the meantime, now it's our turn to go ahead and have a go at trying to tune this thing, and we're going to throw in the Racing 2JZ. Why? Well, because we can, really. I've also gone ahead and made this thing a rear wheel drive, and while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and of course throw on some semi-slick tyres and definitely try and make them wider. If this thing reaches 270, I'm going to be very surprised and a bit concerned. So with these upgrades, we're now at 2,936 pounds in weight with 1,270 brake horsepower. However, the chaos isn't over yet because now I've got to go ahead and tune some gears, which might take me a minute. Although, before we go further, I feel like this thing needs a new coat of paint. There we go, that's better. Before we go any further, here is this week's Forzathon shop. We have got the Hennessy Venom GT from 2012. We've got the Horizon Australia t-shirt, the Australia cover car horn, which sounds a bit like this. Oh, I could do my car sounding like that. We've also got the Aston Martin DB5 and the takeoff emote. As for the wheel spins, we have got the super wheel spin and the regular wheel spin coming back for another week. And now we play everybody's favourite game of how close can I get to the motorway grade. This happens every single car showcase video I do. It's essentially just, I guess, like placing a blind marker and hoping that it's on the right spots because, well, most of the time it isn't. But let's go ahead and see. Did we get close this time? Well, no. In the meantime, here we are now over at the edge of the motorway, getting back on launch control, and away we go. 1,270 brake horsepower, fully upgraded Racing 2JZ. This thing is going to be insane. Or at least I hope so, because I need that for the title. In the meantime, out of the drift zone, or out of the speed zone we go rather, at 255. Incorrect car for the season objective. I'm not going for that, I'm going for driving this. But in the meantime, we've got the downhill and speed camera to go, so let's go ahead and see what we get. And I've got a good feeling we might actually get 270 today. And through the camera, 266.41, going downhill, 268, 269, come on, 1 more mile an hour. Nope. Okay, I was close, 269 out of this thing, which to be fair is still pretty nice considering this thing is quite hefty, but with an awful lot of power. But as we all know, there's one thing left. And if you guessed it was going to be taking this thing drifting, you would be absolutely right. Let's go ahead and chuck this thing in here and see what we get. We are currently very sideways. Some might say a bit too sideways, but I say it's never too much things as too sideways. Out of the drift zone at 42,061 points just on the first run alone, which for something like this is a really good score. But how will it fare going back the other way? There's only one way to find out, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and absolutely send this thing into here, try and keep it as sideways as humanly possible. And can we beat the score? We can, of 42,782. We actually did better going back this way for once. Now for these kind of videos, that's very rare. In the meantime, that is the Toyota Chaser in Forza Horizon 5. It's only 20 points and definitely well worth picking up. I mean, if I could, I would get a second one of these. Maybe a third, fourth too. But definitely go ahead and pick one of these up for yourselves. It is an amazing car, and just, it's a lot of fun. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. And as ever, thank you for watching. Tech out. See ya. We have this, now we need the JZX 100.